Hi team, today's lesson centers on the failure of the Japanese Sakoku policy, which was broken by none other than the United States of America. For over 200 years, Japan maintained a policy of isolation from the world in response to the missionary activity of Catholics in Japan, which had led to a rebellion against the emperor. The policy included a kill-on-sight order for any Europeans found on the islands of Japan, implemented by the samurai warriors of the shogun. In 1849, however, the United States became a continent-straddling country from the Atlantic to the Pacific, with the admittance of California into the Union. Soon, Alaska would join too, and eventually Hawaii. The United States, like Europe, was eager to trade with China and Japan. American merchant vessels were soon plying the waters around the islands. But what would happen if American sailors were stranded on Japan because of a storm? Japan had a zero-tolerance policy for foreigners. They would be killed. Clearly, this was not something that America could permit. The proper job of the American government has always been the protection of the individual rights of Americans. So the United States sent a fleet of ships under the command of Commodore Matthew Perry to Japan. The message was simple: America would not tolerate Sakoku. Perry sailed to Tokyo in 1853, and the appearance of his black ships, as they came to be called, caused a panic. They were modern steamships equipped with powerful cannon. The Japanese could see that they were no match for the Americans. Perry's message was simple: the United States would not allow Japan to harm Americans through Sakoku. It required that Japan accept globalization, or else. The or else is important here. What does it mean? It means America had the power to force Japan to comply, and it would. This is called gunboat diplomacy. Diplomacy usually means that government officials from different countries talk to one another and negotiate new arrangements between them. Normally, diplomacy is designed to avoid fighting. But what do you do when one side refuses to talk? The answer is gunboat diplomacy. In gunboat diplomacy, one side points a gun at the other and commands them to talk. That's what America did. The Japanese realized that they had to change their policy. As we saw in our Anchor Facts series on China, it was just before this time that the British Empire had completely destroyed the Chinese fleet in the First Opium War. The advantage of new technologies was tremendous. During the Industrial Revolution, steamships had been invented that could travel no matter the wind conditions. In addition, military technology had advanced rapidly in both Europe and America. The American Civil War that would soon follow would feature ships with metal hulls. And the destructive power of new kinds of cannon, such as Paxson guns, was tremendous. Even from the harbor in Tokyo, the American ships could destroy the Japanese shore bases and fortresses. Commodore Perry was allowed to come ashore, and the Japanese grudgingly accepted America's terms. So in 1854, they agreed to the Treaty of Kanagawa. It basically said that Japan would allow American ships to dock in Japan, and that they would be allowed to trade for coal, which was the fuel used by steamships at that time. Also, shipwrecked American sailors would not be harmed. The Japanese were not pleased to be forced into this arrangement, but they knew they had to accept it. As we will see in the next lesson, however, it triggered a xenophobic response of its own. The Japanese decided that since they were not yet powerful enough to keep foreigners out, the best thing to do was not to accept globalization, but simply to become powerful enough to stop it. That will be the focus of our next lesson: Japan's period of reactionary imperialism. See you soon.